chilling because,
Yeah.
we'd been used to 50s and stuff, and everything. But anyway, I hope, yeah, Charles, are you connected yet? I think you are, but let's see if we can unmute you. I don't know, you're all screwed up here. I can't unmute you, Charles, so I don't know, maybe you want to come back in again or not? I don't know what's going on. Oh, well, you're on the phone side. Okay. Maybe, I don't know what happened. Anyway, I think maybe you need to come back in. Oh, wait. Now you don't. Oh, you're connecting the audio. Okay. Well, anyway, you might want to try again. Dawn sent me this wonderful dream, but why don't we start out with yours, Roy? This is actually Adelaide's dream, but I've been working on Dawn's, because it was. I'll send it a text to her. Hopefully she comes on. But in fact, I was hoping that Sarah would come up too, because her dream was really good, too, and we didn't get a chance to finish it. But let's say, okay, this is Adelaide.
Can you guys hear
it was
me now?
a dream that seemed to be healing. Charles, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Oh my God, that was the most frustrating thing.
Well, it's all good now, looks like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it should be all right now. I just can't. I can't. If I get muted, I cannot unmute myself. So.
All right. Well, don't as long as your cockatoos don't start yelling in the background, we should be okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, we're going to start out with this. It's a dream by Adelaide. Okay. She dreamed that two men in their 40s. Here, I'll put the text in. I'll put the text in the. Well, why don't you tell the dream, Roy?
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to put it on here, dream night, but
Well, do you think it's too personal or?
No, it's not personal. I didn't know if anybody'd be interested in it, but I thought maybe you would because.
Well, there's no dream that's not interesting. Let me put it that way.
It's some insight into the Animus, which is a little more mysterious than the Anima. We don't know as much about the Animus because it's sort of a dual thing and it's a lot more mysterious way it operates. Yes. Okay. Well, basically, the segment of the dream that she remembered was two men, maybe in their 40s. It was sort of contemporary, and they're kind of dressed like cowboys. And they had a duel, and they shot each other, and they both died. That's basically it.
That is a very interesting dream.
I thought you
shot each other, and they both died. Okay, now let me read it one more time. See if there's anything we've left out. Okay, dressed kind of like cowboys, they shot each other and both died. He's talking to her about it, and she decided it meant the end of a woman's feeling of depreciation, the end of a woman's struggle for respect. Adelaide was a big rebel in the women's movement and against the patriarchy. Also, her father was, he would say a little more old-fashioned.
No, infantile.
He's infantile, okay.
Yeah, he couldn't hold a job or anything.
Okay, all right. Well, he had a issue. Hey, Gary.
He had an issue.
Yes.
He wasn't growing. He wasn't growing.
Yeah, that is somebody who wasn't developing quite as an adult should or something like that. I'm going to put this in the text, Gary. It's a very short dream. I already put it in there, but it's one that Adelaide had. Okay, so let's go over it again. She dreamed that there was two men in their 40s, they're middle-aged, and they're dueling with pistols or revolvers. So it's kind of like a shootout the OK Corral. Okay. All right. So it's kind of like Matt Dillon at the beginning of Gunsmoke or something. You think, where draw, they draw, and whoever draws the fastest. Now in this case, it's like other duels where both parties kill themselves. Okay. So there is there's this situation where a male contrasexual figure in her dream, she's feminine. There's two male figures in her dreams who are using this weapon of really, it's kind of almost like the sword of Manju Shri. It's sort of this. I'm guessing that it has something to do with the logos. The pistol. Hi, Tim. How you doing? Great. And Dawn, we got Dawn sent us a wonderful dream. We're doing a very short dream by Adelaide, who's is Roy's wife. Okay, there was two men in their 40s who are dressed like cowboys. So the reason I think they're dressed like cowboys is that they are dueling in the old Western style. I mean, it's like a shootout at Dodge City or something. They're using pistols or revolvers. So the Animus are using what I really think these represent is some weapon of Logos, and the weapon of Logos annihilates her Animus within her. Both there's these two Animus in her that seem to be opposed. So she has two types of Animus within her who are opposed to each other, and using a weapon of Logos, they annihilate each other. Okay, so now that all that is left to her is the feminine psyche. So in her case, it could be that this might be a symbol of a release from a father complex or something. So rather than the Animus, it could be some kind of a father figure or something, that is eliminated itself. Now Adelaide's psyche has been freed from a neurosis, some kind of a complex that has been, giving her, has been suppressing her own development. So this thing that I'm thinking it has to do, rather than with the Animus, it has to do with a father complex. Because a healthy Animus, now it could be a negative Animus, but a healthy Animus should be assisting her transformation, not suppressing her transformation. So this is a negative Animus, which is very similar to what Anna Marjula had plaguing her, which was her negative Animus eventually turned into the devil, See, now the reason her negative Animus was Anna Marjula, reason her negative Animus was so devilish was because she had not entered the feminine world. In other words, she was separated from her feminine nature. So her animus was poisonous. There was an absolute poisonous. So in this case, it's very similar to when she exposes the Animarjula, exposes the negative animus in her own dream. She defangs him. So he no longer has power over her anymore. At one point, he becomes sort of like the devil, So I think in Adelaide's case, this means not anything to do with the positive animus, but there's been a negative animus within her. And the negative animus within her is because she had not fully lived her own feminine nature yet. And now she seems to be moving into the feminine sphere. And so the negative animus is going away, So now any death implies a rebirth, okay? So the fact that the negative animus has died in her implies that the positive animus may be showing up soon. Now this will be the element of spiritual transformation. And it. What do you think? Now let's just hear what everybody thinks. Roy, what do you think of this?
That's very good, Craig. It's exactly what I see is happening. Yeah, you're right on.
Okay. How about you, Gary?
Well, I find it interesting that they're cowboys, and yet it's contemporary, because cowboys are just like, they're not appropriate for the time, and the way they resolve their differences is not appropriate. So, but you interpret this as a negative animus makes sense. So I think, it sounds good to me. I guess, the only thing I'm a little puzzled about is, there's kind of a leap here. I would have liked to know how she felt about this whole interaction, but then we see her saying that, she decided it meant the end of a woman's feeling of depreciation, and I don't quite understand that. Maybe you could explain that, Roy.
Okay, I've gotten to know women over the years. I noticed a common theme in many women is self-depreciation. And I think it comes from women have been depreciated because of the patriarchy, and it's a man's world. And men don't feel that. Men are sort of feel free and more masters of their destiny. But women want respect, and they'll do incredible things to earn respect, but they usually don't get it, not in a man's world. And so they have these sort of unconscious feelings of self-depreciation. It's very common if you have intimate talks with women, they'll recognize that, and they'll be able to tell you about it.
It's sort of I don't really want to go into it too much, but it's there is a sensitivity, to especially when a great portion of a woman, it has to do with her her feminine aspect, which has an aspect of it that is really magical and casts a spell. And if someone says anything that is disparaging about this, her ability to have this aspect of her disappears, and it is concerning. I mean,
it's not appreciated. It's not appreciated in general.
Yeah, and there's another aspect now. First of all, I am the most naive person in the world, so let's take everything I say with a grain of salt. But women, according to Jung, men want to understand things. They want to understand things. Women want to be understood. I mean, they want someone to understand their essence, where a man is not so worried about his essence. He's trying to understand outer world or inner world abstractions.
Abstract.
Yeah, where a woman is so close to the earth and everything that she will not abstract. And it's because she is more concerned with living beings than she is with abstractions.
Relational stuff.
Yes, exactly, because that's a living being. It's not an abstraction. So if you bring in an abstraction, that's not a living being. How do you have a relatedness with an idea or something? Where since a man is not the bearer of life, he tends to the only thing he can bring to existence is his own thoughts. Well, anyway, I'm impinging on Tim's time. Tim, what do you think?
Well, I'm thinking about the cowboy as sort of the quintessential toxic masculine symbol.
Yes, that's
the Marlboro Man, and this it's really sort of a symbol of the patriarchy that needs to pass on, and so I think it's a really good sign that the two of them have eliminated each other. I'm thinking about it more in a collective sense than in the personal sense of Animus.
Yes, it could. I mean, that is what Adelaide thought as well, that it had something to do with that she was had that. So, I mean, it can actually have a dual meaning. It can have an inner meaning and an outer meaning. But if it's the outer world, then that's a very clear description. The inner world I think would be closer to the experience that Anna Marjula had, where she was plagued all her life by the negative animus. And by the way, what the negative animus does is he depreciates.
Mm-hmm.
He tells, now this is in dreams, he tells her, you can't do that. You screwed that up. You're doing horrible. There's nothing you do that's right. I mean, this is what the animus says, not just in dreams, but in this tape in someone's head. Now, how do you get rid of that? Constant self-criticism, which is not feminine at all. It is the inferior animus speaking to her. So that kind of ties the outer and inner together a little bit, doesn't it? Now, that is not coming from me, by the way. That's actually, there's this image of a woman in the Notre Dame Cathedral confronting Quasimodo, who's this negative animus figure. I mean, it's a play, and I'm not sure what the name of the play was, but it was supposed to be something like this negative animus within a woman who is always depreciating everything she does. And this is what the animus in Anna Marjula was doing. I mean, she's this fabulously successful pianist, and yet, according to him, she couldn't do anything right. Charles, do you have any? You always have some good. By the way, all three of those are fabulous. I thank you. What do you think, Charles?
I don't know. I had a few thoughts. I kind of missed the detail that it was a contemporary setting. So what Gary said about how it's kind of an old figures in a modern place makes me think it's antiquated. It's an old way that is like like how a fire, you know, burns itself out, or like an old thing seems to, like, just at the right time, seem to take care of its own existence and sort of like see itself out. This is an antiquated thing that by its own nature is bringing itself to an end. And yeah, it's, I don't know, just, I can't really say much more than that. I think by the nature of it being an animus dream, I can't really say a whole lot about it other than, you know, what I just said. It's sort of just an old antiquated way of masculinity within someone's self that is has met its time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Hi, Ivan. Now, Dawn, you probably have no comments on it, but let me sum it up. I would like to, if no one minds, Dawn had just a wonderful dream, and it's just magical, and I'd like to maybe go over it quickly here. Anyway, Ivan, nice to see you. I think maybe we're out of Kevin, but again, Roy, do you have any sum up? I mean, these have all been wonderful.
Yeah, that
amplifications.
I think we got the gist of it, and it's a rare glimpse into the animus, and that's why I brought it up. And Dawn Marie's the only female here. She doesn't usually talk. She could probably say something interesting about it. Maybe she'll put a little something in the chat.
Yeah, if you have any comments, Dawn. But I want to put in Dawn's dream here, and Tim, if you have a dream, you'll be up next. But I just wanted to do this with Dawn, because she had this is just a wonderful dream, and I think you'll see when I put it in here how wonderful it is. Let me see if I can get it here. Let me see. I think I'm only halfway through it. It didn't take the whole thing. It was like I used the stars like a compass. All right, here it is. Okay, I'm going to start it over again here on this, just to try to get the rest of it here. Okay. This is just I mean, I just almost had to pinch myself when I read this dream. It's so first of all, it's very mysterious. And secondly, it's very, very archetypal. And thirdly, it is a great healing in it, I think. Okay, well, the dream she calls is controlling a fall. Okay, and I did send a note to Sarah. You know, she's having troubles. I'm going to just send her my amplification if she can. Somehow she's been having a lot of trouble with the internet. All right, so let's go over this dream real quick. I mean, I think you'll find it's just a beautiful dream. Okay. So anyway, it's called Controlling a Fall. Okay. It starts out that we're getting on a roller coaster. It didn't seem that scary at first. Okay. So we're getting on a vehicle that ascends and descends. And it's normally not scary, you know, as long as it's in the conscious side. Okay. And we're in the front cart, which we didn't initially mind, you know. Now, the front cart in a car would be where the ego sits, you know. It would be the conscious aspect. We were sitting in the back car, it would be different. But we're sitting in the front car, so we're sitting in the place where consciousness resides. Okay. Now it had this theme park had sort of a Jurassic Park theme. So, you know, it has to do with the very ancient things, the most ancient things, you know, the most primitive psyche, you know. This is the idea of which I was going to get into with Sarah, of the Eucharist, you know, where she eats the inexhaustible pig. It really, what she's doing is she's assimilating the undeveloped psyche. So anyway, this Jurassic Park theme has to do with the undeveloped psyche within us. You know, it has this theme of that it is very ancient and very old, and yet it's undifferentiated and far, far from the conscious mind. Okay. All right. Then now here's where it really gets interesting. We pass through a barrier. Okay. We pass through a barrier really that is represents the Negredo. It's black, you know. So we're going into first we saw the undeveloped psyche was represented by serpents or ancient serpents. Which are, you know, you can call them dinosaurs or whatever, but they're just ancient serpents, dragons. And we go through a black barrier, like a canvas, to the other side. You know, there's this wonderful book by Gustav Meyrink, you know, who is also an artist, but it's called The Andra Sita, you know, the other side. You know, so she's going over into the other side. So this is really transferring from the conscious side into the unconscious side. Well, what happens when we get in the unconscious side? Suddenly, in this vehicle of ascent and descent, it no longer can contain. The ego can no longer sit in it anymore. The ego is not in control. The ego is flung out of this vehicle of the ego, which allows the ego to ascend and descend, you know, without any incident. In the other side, the ego is thrown out of such containers, and it's in free fall. You know, there's no way of holding on. Okay. And now she doesn't know if she just let go or lost her grip, but she begins falling. Okay. Now this, according to Dawn, and Dawn, you can tell us a little bit more about that if you want, was a recurring theme of being flung off something and being in a fall. So what it really means is I think particularly say that if you were having some episodes of possibly a disorienting time, a period in your life which is very disorienting. It really does feel like you're in free fall. I mean, that the rug has been pulled out from under you. You have no standpoint. There is no earth anymore. You're just, you know, descending without any ground or standpoint anymore. There doesn't seem to be. Now, this is just an aspect of disorienting, of not being able to know where the ground is, have your 2 feet on the ground, you know, securely. There's this aspect of that there is no stability at this point. So everything's in flux. Now, what's your email is Flutter and Flux? Is that your email address? I think, I don't know. I don't remember. Something like that. But anyway, everything's in, there's not a steady state, but now something's changed a little bit. Okay. Normally there's a feeling like butterflies. We feel awful. It sends shudders through our whole body, and we can't stand the way it feels. And you can no longer, because you can't stop yourself from falling. So it's just this aspect of, am I going to continue to fall forever? Is there any way of stabilizing and finding balance? You know, anytime that you can't stabilize or find balance, you know, it's just, you're just reeling, you know, there's an aspect. And by the way, this is not just about you, Dawn, it's about any of us, you know, so we're kind of looking at this objectively because it's instructive to anyone. Okay. This all happened when we crossed the barrier and went on to the other side. And I'd like to know what is meant by the other side too. It's a wonderful term, but I don't know what the definition of the other side is. I'd like to know if you knew what that meant. But anyway, so now this time, described the recurring themes before, that this happened all the time. But this time, we behaved differently. We were so high when we started to fall that all we can see below us is darkness. But we can see the stars above. Okay. Now, the stars above are the fixed points. Okay, we haven't seen those before, but they are the images or the symbols of orienting, of orientation. They're the archetypes of meaning, you know, that will write us and give us will show us the way. Okay, the North Star. It's the one which we, and she's in the dream. The very words are, we use the stars as a compass. Okay, so now there's another aspect here that is again different from what we've experienced before. As we fell, we are very conscious when we're falling. We're not like what we were describing before. Butterflies, awful, shudders through your body, can't stand the way it feels, can no longer hold on or stop yourself from falling. Now, not this time. We're very conscious as we fall, and we are orienting ourselves very consciously. So in this descent into the depths, this time, it's not totally chaotic. There is an aspect within us that is orienting ourselves. And the symbol of this and what is guiding us as we do this are the fixed points of meaning, which are represented by the stars, which we're using as a compass. Okay, you know, as the 4 directions are the orienting points in outer space. The 4 functions are the orienting points in inner space, and they represent. They could be represented by stars. You know, at least they're orienting points. Okay, so now, not only that we are very conscious as we fall, we know exactly what we're doing, and everything's been slowed down. You know, I've seen very, very great athletes. You know, as they're falling, they're not just falling unconsciously; they are looking for who to throw the ball to. Like if they're rebounding a basketball, you can see it when they take a picture of them. They're not just falling with their eyes, you know, going around. They're looking for who they're going to throw to the ball to before they hit the ground. So there is everything's in slow motion. They're kind of falling as they're conscious as they fall, and we paid great attention to the exact movements that we're making. We're working with attention to to our fall and to how our body is oriented. So we really are finding a standpoint now. See, before there was no standpoint, it was just free fall. This is not free fall anymore, because as we're falling, we are orienting ourselves during the descent, okay? Which is, this is just absolutely magical. I don't know if you guys get that either. I mean, I just think it's absolutely magical. Now, we noticed the stars above, so we knew we were making a straight descent, you know. So, you know, I was thinking when I read that of John Kennedy Jr., you know, flies into a fog bank, no longer has a horizon anymore. And when he comes out of the fog bank, he's making a steep descent, almost the plane almost upside down. So, you know, he had lost his point of orientation, and that was what caused his accident. But I just was thinking that she has not lost her horizon. During the descent, the stars above me. So the orienting points of inner space are guiding us as so that we are making a straight descent, not a free fall, not a chaotic, headlong fall. It is a orderly descent. Okay. Now this is a wonderful image that Dawn remembered a dream where the stars were not doing that. They were not fixed points. They were in as chaotic a state as we were, you know. I mean, they're moving way too fast, you know. This would be like, you know, I had this dream one time where I'm lying on the back of a caboose train at night, and I'm lying on my back. I'm looking back. I can see the tracks going like this. Then I see the fence rows, and they're going faster. Okay, I mean very fast. And then the trees behind the fence rows are going a little bit slower than the fence. Okay, and then the trees over on the other side of the field are hardly moving at all. And then I see the moon. It's totally still. So now if the moon had been moving as fast as the fence row, that would have been a little disconcerting, you know. But anyway, there are in this case, before there were no fixed points. There were points, but they were not fixed, you know. And you couldn't, if we were falling in that case, when they're moving too fast, we would not have been able to use them as a compass and orient ourselves. Okay, so now we find that we are getting closer and closer to water, you know, to the depths. And the fall was too far, and we would, ego would be annihilated by the impact under normal conditions. But we have the wit to enter the depths with just one point, not with a horizontally. We are going to enter the depths with a one-pointed attention. Now, this seems to me like it represents concentration. We are going to concentrate the impact at one point. So all our attention, like she's saying above here several times, she has attention to her flips. She has attention to her exact body movements. Now, all of her attention, and that means the ego's concentration on these inner images is going to one point. And that way, when we enter the depths, we're not annihilated. You know, we enter the depths safely at that point. You know, if we were to enter the depths caterwauling and all signs with our attention not focused, our attention all over the place, then there would be a great, it would not, the descent into the unconscious would be annihilating. So all of this thing about the falling and everything is how to fall correctly into the depths. You need to have these fixed points in inner space, which are the stars, which act like a compass, so that your descent is straight. It's concentrated. It's going down with the proper role of the ego to the depths, which is a controlled descent, and also without panic, considering what it is experiencing, okay, and reacting without panic to it as an equal partner with it, you know. So then I just saying, this dream was spoke to me so wonderfully. Okay, so then a lengthened body like a spear at a concentrated point. What is a spear? It's a concentrated point. You know, we pierce the water. Okay, and we weren't hurt at all. All right, now let's hear. Now Dawn says that this was a period of her life when she went by inner flux, and she was anonymous. I hadn't understood the meaning. I hadn't understood the meaning of stars and dreams, so thank you. This is the second dream I've had where I've ended up in the ocean after being on a chaotic roller coaster. The first time I had the dream, the cart flung me directly into the water, but not from high up. And the fear was that there was no way out, but I looked and found one. I was in the cart alone and going the opposite way of people on a fancy train going the other way. So anyway, this dream to me shows a great maturity, you know, I mean, a great expanding of consciousness that has not been experienced before. And it is a, anyway, let's just hear whatever the people said. I've been blathering enough here. What do you think, Roy?
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited about this dream. There's no Earth, but the stars were fixed so she could use it like Earth to orientate herself. And I forgot what famous person said, you know, amongst life, that with all the ups and downs and you're going to die and all this stuff, the best that we can do is fall gracefully. I said, fall gracefully. I like that term. And it reminds me of Jung in the Red Book when he realized that he was circumambulating the center, which is like a star, a fixed thing. And he knew he would get his sanity back. That would keep him sane. I mean, this dream is incredible. Such a healing dream. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing dream. I mean, it speaks to me. I mean, I don't know what Dawn thinks, but I sure got a lot out of it. What do you think, Gary?
I'm going to take a slightly different view on it. To me, this sounds kind of like a dream of recovery. Like, you know, maybe you were too high up, you know, too concerned with the spirit. And, you know, the question is how to get back to Earth, how to get back to the soul. So, you know, there's a shutter in here, and the shutter can actually be interpreted in a couple different ways. Like a shutter can be, you know, you might think of it a fear reaction, but a shutter could also be thought of as a sudden awakening, a sudden awareness where you see something in a completely different manner. And indeed, in this case, you actually do see it in a completely different manner. Instead of the free fall that's completely uncontrolled, which could be something like, you know, you felt like, oh, if I come down from the spirit, you know, it's going to be terrible. Whereas now it's like, no, you're going to move in more into relatedness, and it's going to be just exactly what you need. And not only that, by the way you go into the water, a feminine element, the relatedness will be there and it will all work. So, not knowing the exact context and the time at which this happened, I look at it maybe without knowing as kind of like a recovery and sort of coming back to earth and entering back into relations.
What is really interesting about what both of you said, I was thinking of this, where Roy and Gary both said it's a kind of a return to the earth from a place that's too high up in a controlled descent. In this case, it's a first we're going into the depths of the unconscious of water, yet it's still returning to the earth, even though it's watery. What's interesting to me is what controls the descent is not gravity anymore. It's the the heavenly in women. The heavenly in earth. Men are spirit or heaven in need of the earth. Women are earth in need of the spirit or of heaven. In this case, the spirit, the heavenly realms, which would represent the Animus, are our compass, which allows us the first time in any descent to do it in controlled manner. So we have established a very strong connection with the heavenly realms here. At least in this dream, the connection with the heavenly realms is profound. What do you think, Tim?
I'm looking at the cart being maybe more, rather than the ego, something like the intellect. And it seems to me that it's confused, or it keeps being pulled in one direction or another, and she's flung out of there, and she's using her body, and a detachment is made from the intellect, and all of a sudden there's chaos. And she said she used the stars like a compass, and I started to cause myself to do flips. If that had been the other way around, it would have been different. But it seems like, okay, she's got her orientation, and then she starts doing these flips. And that could either be a playful kind of flip, or it could be just utter chaos, losing control again. But she's got her compass points, and so she's not out of control. Out of control was earlier, and now she's got her control, and I think she's plunging into the depths with real awareness, even though, as she says at the beginning, or at the end there, she says it was terrifying. She would never want to go through it again. Still, I think that is, it's one of those things that transforms you, that you wouldn't give up for anything. Like, I've had some catastrophes in my life that I would never want to go through again, but I also wouldn't trade them for anything, because I learned so much. I was able to be plunged into a new universe that opened up new possibilities for me. And she says her husband thinks she's a different person. I think, man, I can see why. That's beautiful to me.
It is beautiful, and I just want to mention something that Tim said that is very beautiful as well. It seems to be a cooperation between the feminine aspect, which is represented by the body, and the heavenly realms, which now allow an orientation in what used to be a complete chaotic situation. Now, through the cooperation of the feminine, represented by the body and the orienting of the body, and I was thinking of the flips myself as sort of a gyroscopic flip, you know, how a gyroscope, when it turns, can keep itself oriented so it doesn't fall over because of the flips the inner aspect is doing, you know, that it allows it stability from the flipping, you know. But anyway, there's this aspect that Tim mentioned that I hadn't thought about, is that it's a cooperation between a conscious attitude towards the body and the heavenly realms acting as a compass allows us a concentrated descent into the depths for the first time. Now, what we are going to do there, I'm not sure about yet, but at least it is a absolutely beautiful image to me. I'll never forget this. What do you think, Ivan?
I don't know that I have much to add other than I thought this idea of the free fall, where you don't necessarily, like, you can't choose your direction or where you're going, but you can only orient yourself in such a way that you can survive it. I thought that was a really powerful visual.
Yeah, I mean, I said from the second I read this dream, I think where it really hit me is where she goes through the black barrier to the other side. I mean, that was when suddenly the hairs on the back of my neck stood up straight. What do you think, Charles? Oh, you can't. Yeah, good.
Yeah, no, I figured out how to work this. Well, I think practically speaking, it's such a positive dream because you were talking about how she had other dreams where, you know, she was being like flung into the water, and if I'm not mistaken, other dreams where there was a descent that did not go quite well, and then dreams where the stars were all out of order. And this, like, it's clearly a sort of like solution, or like, you know, a solution has been found. I mean, it seems like there's a sort of involuntary plunging into the depths that's happening regardless. And it seems like Dawn has adapted to be able to do it gracefully and with guidance. And I think because of that, it's a really positive dream. The imagery is really beautiful and it seems very special. But practically speaking, it really seems like it is a dream of progress and adaptation to the inner situation.
I agree very much. Dawn, you don't have to say anything, but if you did have any comments, do you have any thoughts that you could add to what people said, or don't worry about it. You don't have to, but I just want to tell you, it's just absolutely very moving dream.
Yeah, I do have one thing to say. The dream, when I'm looking, even when you were talking about Adelaide's dream or anyone's dream, is it something that you're going through at the moment? Is it something that you might end up going through, or is it the past you're looking at? Because with this dream, it makes it seem like I'm going through it again, but on purpose, but with more control. But I don't really feel like I'm going through it again. Things don't feel as awful as they did before. I don't know why I'm seeing it as a fall.
Most dreams are prospective. They're not looking to the past. They're looking forward, and they have a certain inkling of the future that we don't have. I mean, they have access to something that is on the horizon that we don't see. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a determinism, you know. It just means that they are prospective. Now, this comes up very well in I'm just going to say just as an example of perspective, the perspective nature of dreams is the perspective nature of evolution. You know, I mean, that in Hawaii, there are flowers that are shaped like trumpets, and there are no hummingbirds, and there's no bees. So they have honey creepers whose beak is now shaped exactly like the flower. And you add there's just this aspect of evolution that could not possibly exist unless it knew what was missing, what was lacking. Okay, and let's fill that niche. You know, we're the inexhaustible joy of life invincible, and we as DNA products can change and metamorphosize in any way that the psyche wishes to. Now, this is the aspect, I think, the perspective aspect of dreams is they know they are making a commentary on our conscious life, and they know what we lack, and they know a little bit about what's just a little. They have access to all of our past, but also an access a little bit to what is to come and the direction. They are the fixed stars. Okay, they are the compass and the inner orienting of inner space. And of course, they're a lot more concerned with inner space than they are with outer space, because they really, like the young soul tells him, you know, you're my projection. I'm not yours. I'm using you to learn what to do after you're dead. You know, you're my experiment, you know, and that's, this is that perspective attitude. Someone with a much higher vantage point is looking at us, and they can see they can see all the things that we in our little hole have no awareness of at all, you know, and plus they have access to the all of the wisdom of life that ever existed. You know, I had this wonderful vision this morning, you know, of an eye, and within the eye appears the entire earth, and that meant this was the left eye of the anima and the left eye of the Great Mother, which is luminescent. I mean, they point towards it, and it shines. And in that eye was the whole earth. Then in that eye was the cross on Gethsemane, and then in that eye was total nonsense. Okay, so she says, from me came this entire earth and all of life. From me came all the images of myth, and from me comes all the nonsense and the joy of life. You know, so this is who's giving us this dream from the higher vantage point with that perspective attitude. And the dream is never negative. It's always leading us towards greater consciousness. When it seems horrible, nightmarish, and bizarrely gory, and things like that, that's an attitude that the conscious attitude absolutely is almost in a catatonic state. And how can I wake you up? You know, and I want you to feel the pain that I'm feeling inside. So I'm going to give you a little taste of what you're giving me with your total ignoring of the messages I send you over and over again. But anyway, I'm sorry for that little digression. But okay, anyway, Dawn, did you have any? Yeah, it is a wonderful dream. I mean, I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. Hopefully maybe we can have a little bit more to say about it next time when we incubate it a little bit, because I mean, I just looked at it today. Tim, did you oh, go ahead, Roy, what were you going to say?
Oh yeah, this is just an opportunity to show, like Sunday when Adam said, well, how do we use this in our life?
Yes.
And Dawn has taken this dream and it's helped her with her fear and anxiety. You know, the dream is healing her. She can feel that. She can get that out of the dream. That's a huge impact on your life. I mean, you could go see doctors and experts and stuff. They couldn't give you this.
Yeah, and you know, I was just thinking about what Carl said to both Carl and Adam, you know, that where is this all leading? You know, is this really effective? Is it just, are we, you know, just, is this all just, you know, we just keep talking and nothing happens? Well, you know, I just tried to mention, go ahead, Tim.
And Dawn says in the chat that you know, her nightmares have stopped since she's been talking to us about these dreams. You know, there really is movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, and what I told Carl too. And I don't know how to respond exactly to Adam, because I'm not exactly sure what he was. And I would like to hear what Adam thinks about integration, because there's a wonderful concept that I don't think I understand. And I think we all need help on integrating these images into the outer world in a profound way, or a way that is effective, let's say. But, you know, I'm saying in my own case, you know, I try to amplify the dream. I draw it and everything. You know, and I'm saying this is these tiny steps. I'm never the same after I've done that. I'm not the same. The dreams respond as Dawn's dreams did. They just respond. So if I'm changed and the dreams change because I'm changed, it is leading somewhere. Now it's tiny, tiny steps. And I had one dream one time where I'm climbing this ladder, and it's a never-ending ladder. But the idea was, don't look up. Just take it one rung at a time. Don't look up and say, oh, this ladder never ends. Take it one rung at a time. And then at the end, there is this wonderful, beautiful tree branch with a rope on it. And at that point, you get on the rooted thing, and you lower yourself into what was really kind of a green paradise, you know, for me anyway. But I'm just saying, it is not, I don't think the doors of heaven open for us. They're little, well, you know, circumambulating the center. You know, we always come back to that place, the childhood home, the grandmother's home, the high school that we went to, and the courses that we think we should take and we didn't take. Well, that's the point of departure that we've already been at a long, long ago, but we're going to try it again. We're leaving the same place, but this time a little more subtly. Well, anyway, I'm Tim, you are up if you have anything that you want to look at. Your other dream, next time I'm going to do a little, I did a write-up of it, but I don't have it here with me. But I would like to talk at some point about the dream of the two descents that you had.
Okay.
One on the roof of John's house and the other one on the mountain. But I'm not ready. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share one. I think I have a drawing of this somewhere, but
All right.
It's elsewhere. I'll
Okay.
maybe get that to you later.
All right, sure.
I'm calling this the Iceberg diorama.
Okay.
I'm in a boarding house in a room off the parlor. A couple are watching TV. I've closed the door, and an older man and his wife examine a diorama I've made of an icy mountain in a cold part of the world. I'm thinking if I put a weight on one end of a broken piece of styrofoam in this diorama, it would float with the pointy part sticking up. They are upset, and the old man grills me. I'm defending the work, which is some kind of a theological argument. And he asked me if I'm going to go into any greater detail. At this point, I'm exasperated, and I say, no, I think I've lost interest. And he turns around and goes upstairs to go to bed. I say a few words with the woman, and then, apparently freed from his influence, she grabs me and shoves me against the door furiously. She's berating me for my theology. And meanwhile, the door creaks open a little bit, and I hope that others in the other room, I think the couple that's watching TV, would see us and she would be embarrassed. But the couple is apparently gone. Her strength is no match for mine, but still I allow her to force me. That's it.
All right. Well, this is, again, one that's going to explode into meaning, I think, as we go through it, okay? I don't know where it's going, but I can tell it's going somewhere. Okay, so now we are in a boarding house. So a boarding house is a place, in my mind, where, you get a bedroom, and that's all you get, unless sometimes you can maybe get a bath, but usually that's down the hall, But a boarding house is a house really for transients, someone who's like a college student, or they're really an archaic concept, I think. I don't know if there's a lot of boarding houses in non-college towns anymore. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, a boarding house represents sort of a place of transience, a dwelling when we're between two worlds, okay? Between two periods of our life, let's put it that way. Because it's not a fixed abode, I mean, hopefully we don't live in a boarding house our whole lives. We're going to move to our fixed abode at some point. And so anyway, that's enough about that. And so then now we're in a room off the parlor. So we're apparently on the first floor. And now this isn't your room in the boarding house, is it? It's just you're in the room off the parlor.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And there's a couple watching TV there. So
yeah, and I think that's maybe in the parlor.
Okay, so, in the parlor, they're watching TV. Now, you closed the door to the room where they're watching TV.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And now there is a couple there examining a diorama you did of a frozen place. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So would it be like the North Pole, or can you name a frozen place it might resemble? Okay. Well, let's just say it's something like Santa Claus, where he lives. You know, it's the North Pole, but it's not completely. It could be a polar bear. Now, when you mentioned that you were going to apply a weight to a styrofoam, I was thinking of an iceberg or something. So it floats.
Right. I think it's a model of an iceberg to make the
Yes.
iceberg
Okay.
stick up.
So there was an aspect of it is an ice world. It's a world of frozen water. You know.
Right.
So it's a world of water and frozen water. Okay. All right. Now, there is an old man there who is telling us, an old man and an old woman. So, you know, you would first think that this is the wise old man and the wise old woman, but I don't want to say that yet. I don't know this yet because they're not exactly, you know, they don't speak with equanimity. You know, they're very emotional. Okay. So the old man tells us, no, we shouldn't change it, and gets angry. We shouldn't change the diorama. Is that what he's saying, Tim?
He's asking if I'm going to go into greater detail
On what you're going to do with the diorama?
or what it represents or anything like that.
Okay, so he
and this
wants you.
seems to be kind of some kind of a theological model.
Okay, so he's thinking that this has something to do with theos. In other words, with the image of the divine. Does this have something to do with the image of the divine? And you start to give some type of explanation. Is that correct? Do you think you're spouting theology or not?
For some reason, I'm just frustrated with the whole thing. I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Okay, all right. So he is going towards what is the abstract meaning of this diorama. Are you going to explain the abstract meaning of this diorama? And you lose interest at that point. Now, is that explained? Am I stating it correctly?
I don't know if I'm thinking it's a theological statement or if that's his idea. But
are you going to explain it further? He said.
Yeah, it could be that I'm just presenting this. Oh, this is my thing. And he's saying, oh, what's the theology behind this?
Okay.
I'm not interested anymore.
All right, yeah. When he asked what is the abstract. Now, to me, theology, you know, theological statements about the divine are not experiential statements about the divine. They are speculation about something we haven't experienced.
And they're always inadequate.
Yes, and they're totally abstract. They don't. They have nothing to do with the inner experience of the depths. They have to do with someone else's experience of the depths and our speculation about someone else's experience with the depths.
Kind of like a model of an icy world made out of styrofoam.
Yes, right.
It has no
so
experience.
There you go. That is a very wonderful description of the diorama. Okay, instead of the actual, you know, let's say standing on an iceberg and seeing a polar bear on the other side and maybe some seals or walruses or something, you know, and being there and smelling that real sharp, pungent smell of very cold air, you know, coming into our lungs, you know, we just do a diorama maybe out of styrofoam. And so then this sort of a pseudo wise old man is asking us, are you going to give us sort of your speculation without any experience of this place you've been to that you're trying to represent that you haven't experienced either? You know, I mean, I mean, that's, you said it better than me, Tim. I think I'm screwing it up. But anyway, then you say you're losing interest. The old man leaves. Okay. Now at
Apparently
this,
he loses interest too.
yes, you both lose interest. And he loses interest because he wants to speculate, and you lose interest because you don't want to speculate. You know, there's the aspect of then it's not vital, it's not a living experience. So you're making this thing that I'm trying to make a living statement on into something abstract, and so you're missing my point, and he's missing. He thinks you're missing his point, so you just aren't communicating. You leave. So then he leaves, and then he seems like a pseudo wise old man because he's more interested in theology than say Merlin would be. Not even be interested in theology. You know, the green man would not be interested in theology. Okay, he's sort of he's sort of a diorama of the wise old man. You know, he's a sort of this paper cutout of a wise old man. Okay, then the wife of the paper cutout of the wise old woman is accusing you of being theological and berating you for being theological?
For my theology, I don't know.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if this is the model of my theology,
mm-hmm.
or my explanation or previously. I just don't know.
Yeah, there's some aspect of it that she is thinking is an offense to something. Okay, an offense to either her husband's theology. There's something that she is taking as dogma, not the real sacred, but there's some dogmatic aspect which you have possibly transgressed.
I think it's different than what he thinks because
yes, I think
she waits till he leaves and then she grabs him.
Okay, yeah. And then
so this is something very different.
Yeah. So anyway,
maybe he's the dogma and she's the experience or something.
Yes, like that could be that she is the more experiential side. So he's looking at it from the kind of a logos side. She's looking at it from the level of the Great Mother. And after he leaves, you can speak her mind and say that you're both don't realize what this means. Neither one of you do, you know. So she's maybe speaking a deeper truth. Now I'm waiting to hear other people because I think I'm barking up the wrong tree here a little bit. But anyway, then even though you are allowing yourself to be berated by these people, even though you could defend yourself and stop them from physically abusing you, really, but and at that point, now what was it that the people in the TV room were wondering what's going on, or
well, she pushes me against the door, which creaks open a little bit, and then I think, oh, they can see, so that will embarrass her, and she'll leave me alone.
Okay, all right.
But those people have left, so
it's your way of defending yourself. Is you're going to have they're not there, but you were hoping they were there, and that they're witnessing her is going to be inhibit her from this display.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's a first stab at it, but I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, I say some of the same things in this dream as in some of Tim's other dreams. Okay, the icy water. Here again, he's not getting wet with the water. You know, it's frozen. You can't wet him. He's not relating in this dream. You know, Jung had a lot of problems with modern art. I think he resolved them over the years. But this attitude about modern art is over a century old. You know, is still going on. I have a big problem with it myself. Anyway, back to relating. He didn't relate to the logos. He didn't relate to the eros. And then he thought, well, maybe some people, the door was cracked, some people would see this and she would be embarrassed. He's relating to the collective. He's hiding in the collective. I see this theme in his dreams. I don't know, maybe I'm imagining or whatever, but that's what I see.
Yeah, well, I know we're going to get at this. I'm not sure we can get at it today, but I might need a evening to consider it too. What do you think, Gary?
I'm going to take a little bit different approach. To me, the place that you're in, it's not home. So in a way, it is a collective, or maybe even it kind of represents like an interaction with the outside world. I mean, you start off with a couple watching TV, which is like, just like kind of a mindlessness type of that that you see in the outside world, and you close the door on this. You don't want to participate in this, and then you have this diorama that you decide, if you could modify it, and so have a piece which becomes more subtle, by it having, more under the water, then, this would change its meaning. And so you're doing things with, with kind of a felt sense. And so this other guy comes up and he's like, no, I just want this to be all on the surface. This is like, I want an intellectual type of interpretation, and you look at it like this has nothing to do with the intellect. This has to be felt, and that's why you lose interest immediately. It's like you're just clueless. So his wife leaves, or he leaves, and then his wife is there, who basically attacks you even more vigorously on the theological point. And and that's really interesting, because that's it's almost like female Trump supporters. How how does that work? But so I don't think I have the meaning of this yet, but to me it seems like a reflection of what you see going on in the outside world, and and challenges, and like how can you even relate to this when people are seeing art in this manner.
Very good, thank you. How about you, Ivan?
I can't help but I keep thinking about the iceberg, like it's just the tip of the iceberg. Just it seems very much like an idea. I would just echo the sentiment of like this feeling versus thinking, and this confrontation. And I found it really interesting that you had the strength to not allow this woman to force you. For whatever reason, you allow her to just, force you against a wall. That was interesting to me. I'm not quite sure entirely what that means, other than maybe you've chosen not to engage with this argument.
Yeah, okay, great. I think we need to talk about the icy mountain in the cold part of the world a little bit more. What do you think, Charles?
This one feels like it's over my head. After Tim described the dream, I found it pretty perplexing. I don't really know. I don't have a whole picture of it that really makes any sense to me. It's pretty weird. But I think what's super interesting is the iceberg diorama being, this guy wants to relate it to theology. think the idea of the dream kind of centers around that. Whatever it means, I don't really know. I think Ivan made a good point that I think that's like the older woman. She kind of bullies you, and you easily could have prevented it, but you kind of allow it to happen. And I've had dreams like that where I'm like, I could easily overpower this person, but I sort of just let it happen. I think that's another big element to the dream. And then, like, I feel like it has so much to say. This dream has so much to say, but I'm totally at a loss. Totally at a loss.
Well,
I
the
think
part too that's really interesting is just this idea that you want this other couple, these other people to see this woman's behavior so that she'll be embarrassed, but there are no observers to her behavior.
Yes, that was the idea there too. Let's go over just a few things here.
Also, Don says, what happens if you don't use the weight?
Yes, okay. Well, what does happen if you don't use the weight? That seems to have been, I am thinking, now I didn't have I didn't know you put it in the chat, so this is very helpful. I'm thinking if I put a weight on one end of a broken piece of styrofoam, it would float with the pointy part sticking up. They are upset. Upset by what? Do you know?
Nope.
Okay. They are upset, and the old man grills me. Okay. Now that's one part. Okay. And then it says, now, the old man is grilling us. So the old man is asking us a lot of questions, which are kind of unwelcome, almost like like we're on the stand and or we're being grilled under lights by a detective or something. And now you're defending the work. Now I'm just going to read exactly what it says here, and you can clarify. I'm defending the work, which is some kind of a theological argument. Now, is that exactly what you meant? I'm defending the work, which is some kind of theological, theological argument.
All of a sudden, I'm thinking, because of what Ivan said, that maybe what that represents is my art output. Mm-hmm. When I create a work of art, there's always a theological element. But sometimes I just want to say, you experience what's there. You know, your interpretation is as good as mine, so I don't want to explain it.
Okay, yes. So you are saying this, that you are expressing something within yourself, an image that you experienced, you are making manifest in the outer world. So this is not something you thought up. It's something you experienced and made a model of in the outer world. Now, is that what you might mean by let's use different words than a theological argument. It is some kind of an inner image. Now, how far is that away from some kind of
an inner image that points to a great, mysterious world?
Right. Okay.
Maybe an unfathomable world.
Yeah. So the theological argument, the only reason I wanted to restate that is because it has connotations which I think are driving us into a dead end. Okay. So let's try to restate it and make sure we state it accurately. I'm defending the world, which is some kind of inner image, which is a referent to the greater mystery which lies behind it.
Right.
Okay. Now that would be an experiential statement, not an abstract statement. What do you? Now, is that accurate and in the spirit of the dream, or are we are we
Well, I don't
trying
want
to
to totally
fix?
lose the concept of theology just
Yeah.
because I think everything I do is a theological statement.
Mm-hmm.
Theology to me is the understanding of how the universe is put together and what drives reality. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if I do a landscape, in a way, that's a theological argument.
Yes. Okay. Now, see, now we're getting a little bit more of a nuance of what this means to you. The term theological argument, rather than reading in our own connotations, which might not be true to the way you are using this term. Okay. So I think it's an interesting word. Deus, it comes from Zeus, and it like Jupiter, that means Father Zeus, Peter is Father Zeus. And then the Latins made it Deus, or sometimes spelled with the TH, Theus. So this is the explanation of the highest God, or the highest value, the highest sacred value. So it is this is a expression here of the highest sacred value. Okay, and so now we know more what theological argument meant. I don't think we did before. Now let's talk about the icy mountain in a cold part of the world. Okay, an icy mountain in the cold part of the world. Okay, the cold. What? First of all, an icy mountain, to me, would be now. Now, first of all, it doesn't say anything. I examined a diorama I've made of an icy mountain in the cold part of the world. So, by icy mountain, do you mean? You know what the word iceberg means is ice mountain. Berg it means mountain in Norwegian.
In German.
And in German, yeah. Bergen, is the mountain. Is what it means. There's 7 mountains, so it means ice mountain. So icy mountain, and the name of the dream is the Iceberg diorama. So iceberg means ice mountain. So when we're talking about icy mountain, we're talking about that part of the iceberg that is above the ocean, where there's just as much below the ocean as there is above. So an ice mountain has this wonderful quality that there is just as much below the surface as there is above the surface, because it sits with half of its volume above the water and half of its volume below the water. Below in the depths, half below, half above. So icy mountain in the cold part of the world, we are talking about an iceberg, correct? One that's very tall.
Yeah, except most of the iceberg is underwater.
Yes, most is underwater, but it is a tall, conically shaped iceberg, okay, in a cold part of the world. So the iceberg itself, as an expression or of a theological argument of a inner image which points to a greater referent behind it. To me, I see an iceberg in a dream. Okay, what I see is that I see as above, so below. As much as I see above the surface, there is the equal volume is below, but unknown. Okay, so we are aware and conscious of the upper half, but we know nothing about the lower half. But it speaks volumes. The fact that we don't know about it, but it's every bit as spectacular as the upper half that is known to consciousness. So it is a symbol of the of the depths that are unknown to us. The upper half is a symbol of the depths which are unknown to us, because they're giving us sort of an inkling of the what's below, you know. So when we're saying that that's a theological argument, to me, if I had someone dream about an iceberg, I would say they are dreaming about a tremendous volume of and images in the depths that are unknown to us. I mean, just it's like the whale that who had the whale dream. Somebody just had the whale dream. Who was that who had the whale dream? Was that Kevin? Oh yeah, it was Kevin. Had the whale dream. You know, where he has two whales. One is the baleen whale, and then the other one is the sperm whale. So this in Moby Dick is Moby Dick is the god, and he is this unbelievably shocking massiveness compared to the small ego that lies below the depths. You know, consider this is what it's saying, you know. So the iceberg, the icy mountain, to me is a representative to, and it's in a very cold place. So what does a cold place mean? Usually it means the realm where no one lives. Okay. Now you just had a vision in your vision quest of being in a place. Could you describe we don't have very much time. Oh, we don't have much time, any time. But could you describe again in your vision, we'll take this up next time, but could you just describe what you saw in your vision that was this vast emptiness that you saw?
Yeah, why don't we carry on next time?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Carry on next time, but I would like you to describe that, because okay. I think it's an analogy to the iceberg. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be. Could be.
A little bit. I mean, I just would like to, because it's so beautiful, and I know I can't state it. Okay, well, anyway, we'll take this up next time, and if Sarah returns, and Ivan, you would be up next if you have a dream. Okay, and then Charles, you'd be next. Well, thank you very much, Tim. I think we got started.
Yeah,
okay.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll see you guys all next time.
All right, thanks.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye.